Forgot to turn the camera on. Got one out. Being very careful not to booger up the bearing the way I got the jaws opened. Let's see. Alright, that should be good. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. We got the entire axle assembly. Bearing feels good, and if I can find them all, there we go. Now, I have something to take to the automotive store with me tomorrow. One of the original 4 lug nuts. So I'll put these in a little bag. I like to take everything with me. If they're longer, that's fine. I don't care about the length as long as everything else matches up. So, really, I guess that's it for today. I'm done. This is the short axle. It's out. There's the E-clip. That is a pain in the ass to release, to squeeze together and pry it out of its little hole, but it's done. You know, I might just take my gauge with me while we're talking about it. Let's go ahead and pull it. These have come in handy. I didn't pay that much for it at Harbor Freight. It definitely comes in handy for stuff like this. Really, the critical thing is to measure right here to make sure they're the same, so that way when you reinstall them, which is nothing more than put them through the hole, put the lug nut on, get the air wrench out, and just air them on. They squeeze, I guess you could say that, they squeeze right back in place. You got little teeth, I think you can see that. They have the same thing right there. They all grab together. So, we got 4 of them. You can see what I mean by boogered up. There's that one. Got pretty chewed up. That one. And that one. So those are for the shop tomorrow. Hopefully we can get replacements. And time to start the other side. Oh, in order to get my fat butt in here to work, fortunately I got to move the bike. So hopefully this isn't going to be calamity and I drop my project. Where's it? Wait a bit more. Got a very, very short kickstand. Stay. Don't move. Alright, his behind's out. Guess we'll move the cord for the battery tender. And I guess we could try to get started. Easily enough. We're going to pull all these good lug nuts. Thank God we're not having to replace 8 of them. We've only got to replace 4 and 4. That's 8, but that's on the other side. This, if I'd had to replace everything, I'd have been at 16. It'd been 8 studs and 8 of the nuts. You know, give me a second, guys. I'm going to pull this drum off, and we'll go ahead and get into start pulling this axle. Well, let's go ahead and get this this whole axle pulled. First, what we're going to do is just go ahead and finish prying off the brake drum. Get that off as so. While I got it off, go ahead and check it for excessive wear. Just like my other side, let's see, pads still look decent. So not having to change anything. I just need to pull this axle out. That's the easy part. Now we're going to come down to the hard part, which is getting the actual axle out. In itself, really the hard part is going to be to find and locate the spring clip that is behind, that is going to be behind here. Now what you're going to have to do, once you locate it, now I've bent mine up, I bent my spring pair of pliers doing it. I don't know if it's just they're cheap, whatever the case is, but this should work because I have to spread them to about somewhere right there. Let me go ahead and straighten this one side up. Once I locate it, and like I said, it's a pain. You're going to find it, you're going to stick the spring pliers in there, and you're going to squeeze. Once you squeezed it, try moving it around. If it doesn't move, take a longer flathead than this, put it up on that spring clip, and take your hammer and tap it all the way around. It's going to help break it free. That's really if you have never done that before on one of these, or if it's just has excessive moisture, whatever the case is going to be. Sometimes those clips are going to freeze into place, and that's what I found. It took me, what I found out, and it took me the longest to get this right, until my buddy told me that trick of tapping it. Once you do, you get the ball, you get your pliers lined up, and you're going to have to get your head and a good light in here. You're going to put it in the holes, squeeze like hell. Once you got it, wiggle it around. If you can kind of pull back a little, pull the end of the handle of the pliers towards you, it should start moving it out. The best way is you're going to go in behind the clip and put a small screwdriver. Sometimes you might have to have two. All you're going to do is work it out from all the way around, and that's what it's going to take to get the that clip out of there. It's a pain. Once you get it out, the second half of this pain, it should go a little bit smoother. Give me a second, let me straighten my pliers out and start trying to remove this clip. Alright. What is usually an utter headache, literally, I had straightened mine in the vise, and again they got bent. From what I've heard, if you want to spend the $300, and I really don't know the price, for some Snap-on ones, they say they're the best. But cheap Harbor Freight got it. Obviously why they're bending. But what I did again, went in on it, I squeezed it. I was able to, actually I was able to do is push the end of the handle inward. It kind of brought it up. Then what I did, well, oh, here it goes. And what I did is came in from this side, poked the screwdriver, I forced the very tip where the little hole's at near the edge. And I was able to come from underneath, pushing the end of it inward towards the cart, start bringing it out. Then I was just basically, as it started coming out of the bore, started pushing the little screwdriver around it, and I heard it pop out. Now we're going to try to remove this axle. A small pry bar of any sorts. I just happen to use a tire iron. I got to see how, there we go, just a little prying. And they say put a catch pan for fluids that are going to leak out, like your oil, or I guess it should be your fluid for the axle. And that's it. That's how you remove the axles out of a 97 club car. But I'm pretty well sure, I believe it's 2003, or no, 2004 or something and up. But that's it. The axle's all the way out. Let me get y'all. That is the C-clip that I'm talking about. And then from here you can check your bearings. Make sure they spin smooth. You can check the bore. Make sure this is alright. Check your axle. On my other axle, I just knocked out all 4 of the studs because I issue with the wheel, loose lug nuts, it destroyed them, so I'm going to replace them tomorrow. But technically that's it. If you need this bearing right here taken off, I believe this is a press fit bearing, so you would order the appropriate parts, or you could actually order the complete axles with bearings and all and seals. They all come together. So for me, let me go ahead, I need to go ahead and remove this backing plate as well, because of my conversion I need to take the left side to the right to the left, so it puts that little tab on the back side, so when you pull on the brake cables, they're just going to pull it forward towards the car. So for my axle has been spun 180, so technically everything is facing backwards. I figured I'm going to get everybody to watch this joyous moment. It's undone. So, what originally would have been the passenger side brake assembly got moved to the driver's side because of the axle flip. So we're going to take this back to where it belongs, back on the passenger side. And I'm going to bring back the driver's side right back to it. Now that it's back over here, the cable and everything will now get pulled correctly back towards the front. Basically, with the when I had flipped the axle, if you notice, this piece now is facing the front, yet it has to go backwards to be activated. So, being the correct side, here we go. I guess it's time to start reassembly of all this. A joyous moment for me because I've been waiting to get this done. Whoa. Not paying attention. There's a whole standing axle right behind me. But, try not to get this thing, definitely don't want to booger up anything now. All the brake components, everything definitely looked very up to par. There was nothing wrong with any of this. So I figured time to definitely start reassembling. Get a couple of these bolts started, one at various corners. And that's really it. Also, I'm going to have to do is tighten all this, get all 4 bolts, put it back on. I'll bring it back with me in a moment. Alright, I guess it's time to reinstall the axle. Now this is the correct brake assembly on the correct side. So might as well make one less thing to do later. And that's reinstalling this axle. There we go. And I guess it's gonna take a little gentle persuasion. I felt it go up in the splines. Try to keep this spring clip right where I want it. And remember, this is gentle persuasion. Tap it in right till just really gently tap. Make sure when you first start going in that you feel like you're going in the splines. Just gently tap it until you get it so far in. Line your bearing up with the hole. Push it all the way in and just tap it until it seats all the way. Now I have to reinstall this nerve-wracking C-clip. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. Go ahead and get that done. And get the drum ready to go on. Well, I got back from the auto parts store. It's after work for me, so I figured hopefully I got some good news. While I was there, it ended up costing me like $22. I got 8 of the 8 lug nuts. And to make sure, somehow actually I ended up 1, 2, 3, oh nope, 1, 2, 3, 4, ended up with 5 lug studs. I think the guy just didn't realize and just kind of threw me one in, so he kind of did me a favor. Now there is a little difference, diameter wise they're the same. I took my digital calipers they had one there. This one, as you can see, is a little hair thinner, where this one's thicker. The teeth, though, there's a lot more teeth on this one than there's this one. This is coarse, or this is fine, this is coarse. As long as really the diameters matched up, I believe it should work. So far, so good. It would help if I knew where my hammer was at. Well, I guess here goes nothing. If they pound in, then I'm good to go. Hallelujah. So with that being said, it looks like we're gonna have lug nuts back on this thing. Be able to mount a tire again, all the good stuff. I figured it was exciting enough. For being, a matter of fact, a hair thicker, it's actually fitting on there perfect. And that's what I was hoping it wasn't gonna do. Maybe I goofed up. Yeah, there we go. I guess just trying to position it in the right way. The guys did remind me to keep one of these packages for the lug studs and one for the lug nuts. So pound them in, pound them out, and I'm gonna go get this last one. I think that should work. Got a little piece of plastic. So I guess it was the right thing to use the one that wasn't in the pack, but I know it matched. Look at that. We got nice lug studs on here again. And I think what I'm going to do, I guess I'm going to keep the one. I'm going to keep the one that actually wasn't opened. We'll throw the other three away. So I got one of them. We'll just hide this one in the old cabinet up here. And, well, not trying to get the hands super dirty like I did yesterday. It's freezing cold for North Florida. I think we're in the lower 50s or top 40s right now, which is extremely freezing for me. So I'm going to make sure I carefully get one of the packages out for the good old lug nuts. You know, maybe I hold on, guys. As a matter of fact, let me compare this. I hope it's not going to make a difference. I told them I didn't care what lug nuts as long as they basically fit. I wouldn't think there would be a difference between the two, as long as these are the correct ones for what I've got. So one wheel will have missing lug nut. I'm just kidding. Just dropped one. Just got home, warmed my hands up in the Jeep as I got here. Now I'm starting to freeze again, being the shop is, what was my temperature gauge say? It's about 44 degrees out here. But at least one thing I'm doing is, you know, for shits and giggles, I wonder if they're the same. It would thread on, but I'm not going to booger up a lug nut just to figure it out, especially when it goes on the other side. It does help to keep everything in balance, to have all your the lug nuts on there. So we don't want three. We figured out why we don't want loose lug nuts. It was actually the hard way. But thank God I had to pull these axles, so it was a blessing in disguise. By pulling the axles, I was able to go ahead and change out all this hardware. So it was a one-time job. It's done. Now this axle technically is ready to go in. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Alright. Now let's see. Yesterday while I was out here working after work, ended up getting all the brakes swapped around so they're on the correct sides. So I guess all I have to do is put this in, Just going to feel for it going into the housing, and it's correctly in there. I felt it slide up. Make sure the bearings lined up with the casing. Whoa, we got an issue already. For some reason this didn't go in all the way. Let me pull this one out and let me figure out what's going on with this. Alright, for some reason, maybe I didn't hit it hard enough in. Now I've got to, there we go. Find where it reseated all the way back. This is nothing more than just tap her in. For some reason, keep getting some that are loose. I guess I better take all this off, double check what's going on before I give myself a headache later on. I'll go ahead and do that off camera before I set the snap rings. It's crazy because we made sure that everything was correct, so I just got to figure out what's going on from this point on. Get the snap rings put in with the snap rings on. Matter of fact, make sure everything's still nice and smooth. I'll go ahead and double check everything with these lug studs because I don't want to get them on everything. Have a headache later on. I'll go ahead and knock that out and go ahead and get the drums on and get the snap rings on, and the moment I can't wait for, get the tires back on.